Hello guys, welcome back onto the channel and into one more GT Sport daily race video. We're driving the 208 GTI Peugeot Sport, and this is a one-make race, so everybody in the race is driving the exact same car. I had never driven this car before, at least not that I remember. I might have driven it when I was doing the career mode. I don't remember exactly if that's the case, but in an online race, that's been the very first time that I've ever driven this car. We're driving around Kyoto. Again, I don't remember exactly the name of the layout. I always confuse the layout names, if this is the Yamagiwa or any other layout around this track. So we're starting in 5th place. There are 11 racers in this track, and this is a 5-lap race, so we have plenty of opportunities to overtake. The 4th place goes a little bit too wide and into the grass. He loses a bit of time, so we managed to catch up to him fairly quickly, but there isn't a lot of power in this car, so since everybody's driving the same one, it all comes down to whether or not the people in front of you are gonna make a mistake and whether or not you're gonna be able to capitalize on that. This guy goes a little bit too wide. When we make a little bit of contact, I edge him out wide. Not intentional, but these things sometimes happen and you can help it. I try to brake to avoid contact, but that wasn't enough. So we're up in 4th place, and looks like we're catching up to the 3rd place, the Canadian guy. We go a little bit too wide in here. Perhaps we could have taken this corner a little bit more on the inside. I think that's the fastest way to take that turn in particular. But that's fine because we didn't lose a lot of time. Now we're about to take the same corner where we overtook that other guy in the previous lap. Looks like this guy knows how to take this corner properly. I don't. So my performance around this corner is often spotty because I never know what is the proper line. Should I take the inside line? Should I take the outside line? This guy goes a little bit too wide and into the grass, the same mistake that other guy made, and he loses a bit of time, not that much. I would have expected him to lose quite a bit of speed, but that did not happen. We're still in 4th place. We're about to cross the line into the 4th lap. We only have 2 laps left to go, and as you can see, the first 2 places are very consistent with their lines, so there's not a whole lot of mistakes coming from them. And it's kind of difficult. These one-make races, especially when you're racing these slower cars, it's pretty balanced. And again, this guy makes the same mistake he made over maybe I think last two laps, and I still haven't managed to capitalize on that. These past few days I've been racing with automatic transmission. Since the game came out, I've been driving in manual transmission, and I don't know if it's a matter of me being bad at it, but I didn't see a whole lot of difference between driving manual and automatic in my particular case. I know the manual is faster, but at least to me, according to my driving skills, it's not that much faster, and I didn't want to worry about shifting up and down. So these days I'm kind of taking things a little bit easier, and so I decided to run with automatic transmission anyways. But at some point I'm gonna go back to manual transmission because it's nice as well. So that's gonna be a 3rd place finish because the 4th place had incurred a penalty that he had not run out over the course of the race, so we were bumped up to 3rd place. And that was a race that not much happened, and that's just the nature of this type of one make races. Moving on to the second race of the video and the last one, because this is a fairly long race. We're gonna be driving around Brands Hatch and I'm gonna be in the BMW Z4 GT3, one of my favorite GT cars in the game. It's not the fastest one, it's fairly slow, especially so when you compare to other faster cars like the Huracan or pretty much any other car in this category, but it's a really nice one to drive, at least for me. I really like how the car feels around the corners. It can be a little bit tricky to control this car, but it's nice anyways when you get the hang of it. This guy, the eighth place goes a little bit too wide and into the sand. We started out in ninth place, so we got one position because of his mistake. Brands Hatch is not my strongest track. I usually struggle setting decent lap times around this track, especially so when I'm qualifying. And the fact that I started out in ninth place is not surprising at all. It's to be expected since I'm not consistent around this track. But let's see what we can do around this race. We have 10 laps ahead of us. Probably we're gonna need to make a pit stop. I've seen people finishing one of these 10 lap races without actually going for a pit stop. Maybe has something to do with the power management slider. I need to try this out and see how that works in the context of this race. This other guy made contact with that other one who were left in the sand. So and I got a penalty, a 2-second penalty that I'm gonna need to run out, but that's not a problem because I'm pretty slow around this track, so I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be able to run out this penalty naturally without even trying. As you can see, I went pretty slow. I think this is the corner that I struggle with the most, and I can never quite figure out the braking point. And one of you mentioned this guy made a mistake. I think he made a contact with a guy in front of him and he lost a position. So we're up in 7th place. But anyways, as I was saying, one of you mentioned a braking point that I can use as a reference. But holy shit, did you see that? That other guy kind of pushed the other out wide, and he ended up going off the track. But anyways, one of you gave me a braking reference for that particular section in the track, but I don't know if it's a matter of me learning to brake properly in this game, but that braking reference that one of you mentioned in the comments in one of my other videos did not work for me. I tend to go a little bit too wide whenever I kind of stick to that braking point. So I need to figure something else out that works with my current braking ability in this game. So we're up in 6th place. We're still on the 2nd lap. We're about to cross the line to the 3rd lap, and we just did. And 2 guys go a little bit too wide and off the track, so we're gonna get 2 more positions, 2 easy ones at that. So far I haven't overtaken anybody in the proper way. They were mostly mistakes that caused people to go off the track, and that's how we managed to go from the 10th place that we started on all the way up to the 4th place. We still have a little bit, we have a 1.5 seconds penalty to run out, and we have plenty of time. I'm not too worried about that. And the 3rd place, I know that the guy in 3rd place can be a really quick driver. I've raced against him in plenty of races at this point, so I know how good he is. But looks like he's kind of struggling a little bit in this race in particular. He is a little bit over 3 seconds ahead of us. Where he overtook the guy in front of him. I just realized that, and looks like the guy in front of us at third place is losing time. Maybe he's in a battle trying to overtake, trying to get his position back. But I'm not sure if that's on and or even if that's gonna happen over the course of this race. As I said, the Brazilian guy in second place, he's a really quick driver, and if he's consistent enough, it's kind of difficult to kind of keep up with him. And my voice almost cracked up. I don't know why. But anyways, we're still in the fourth lap. Not much is happening so far. These guys are pretty consistent as opposed to the guys, to some of the guys in the previous race. This guy goes a little bit too wide in there. He gives me enough space. That was really nice of him. Usually people don't care about which angle they rejoin the track. This guy seems to be conscious about that, so he gave me enough space to overtake him rather than trying to block me off. And we're up in third place, but I don't think we're gonna be able to hold on to this position for too long, unless this guy makes another mistake and we manage to widen the gap. And I don't know, looks like the second place went for his pit stop. I don't know, maybe no, I don't know why I thought someone had driven into the pit lane. But yeah, we're still in third place. We're about halfway through the race, and somehow we're gaining on the fourth place. So that's actually good news. I did not expect that to happen, to be honest. Especially so because this guy was keeping up with this Brazilian in front of me fairly close, and I know that I can keep up with this Brazilian guy usually. So that's quite surprising. We have developed a 2.7 gap over the fourth place, so this gives us a bit of a breathing room so we can focus on trying to at least keep up with the second place. But I'm not entirely sure whether or not we're going to be able to reel him in at any point during this race. We're almost running out the entire penalty. We have 0.9 left to run out, and I think we're gonna go for our pit stop now because I think that's the proper time. No, that's not the case. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened in this race, to be honest. It's been a couple weeks since I recorded it, so my memory is not that clear when it comes to this race in particular. But as you can see, a lot of people went for their pit stops, and so the gap widened quite a lot. We have over 14 seconds of gap over the fourth place. It's not the same guy that was behind us, and that was apparently a much slower guy. And the second place is still a little bit over 4 seconds ahead of me, and looks like he's keeping fairly close to the first place because the gap between them is not that big. It's just a couple tenths actually. And we're on the sixth lap, and it's quite curious because the fastest lap was set by the guy in sixth place, so he might be someone to keep an eye on because he has a chance of actually reeling everybody in and taking their positions, including mine. And well, actually, now that I checked my lap times, I thought I was way off the pace, but that's not the case at all. I actually am just a couple temps, actually 2 temps behind the fastest lap. So it's quite surprising that I'm managing to set fast lap times like these. I've never done anything like that in Brands Hatch before, and I'm truly surprised that when I was checking my lap times, I thought I was gonna be off the pace by 1 or 2 seconds because that's pretty much how it usually goes around Brands Hatch, but it's quite surprising to see that I'm off the pace just by a couple attempts, which might mean that I'm actually improving around this track, and maybe I'll get to a point where that's not such a weak track for me in general. And we're still 14 seconds, actually 15 seconds ahead of the fourth place. I don't know what happened there. I thought he went for his pit stop. I'm not sure if he did though. And we still have about 2.5 laps left to go. And I think at this point it might be wise for us to go for our pit stop, but I don't entirely remember whether or not we're going to go for it. And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. And I cut the grass a little bit there, and I suspect that we're going to get a penalty as we get out of the pit lane. Let's see if that's the case. You cannot cut corners even when you're going in to the pit lane, because I have already gotten a penalty because of that. And yeah, that's the case. I got 1.4 penalty because I cut the corner on my way into the pit stop, and that's not great, but that's not something to worry about either. And we came out of the pit lane and we still managed to maintain our third place, and we're actually gaining on this guy. And we're gonna be a lot faster than people who did not go for their pit stops yet, because we replaced our tires. We're running on brand new tires, so that's gonna help us out a lot around the corners. But as you can see, the Brazilian is up in first place, and he did not go for his pit stop, which tells me that he's kind of messing around with the power management slider, and that might be a wise thing for me to do. I think the next time that I'm actually racing one of these 10 lap races in the daily race mode, I think I'm gonna actually try to customize the power management on my car at the beginning of the race and see how much I can push my car before actually having to hit the pit stop. I think that might be a wise thing to do, especially so when you're running against these faster guys, that you wouldn't be able to catch up to them otherwise anyways. We still have a 0.7 penalty to run out, and at this point I'm starting to get a little bit worried because we have about a lap and a half left to go, and we cannot go too slow around the corners, not at least intentionally, because this guy behind me is not that far behind. He's just 1.5 seconds, and that's not a lot in GT cars. That's just maybe a couple meters, and I'm not looking behind. That's something that I don't normally do, and I know that a lot of fast people usually do, which is look behind constantly to monitor whoever is behind them. In GT Sport, I kind of base myself off the distance marker right below the driver's nickname, because that's a good indicator of how far or how close the driver actually is. So I don't feel the need to actually look behind constantly. But I don't know, a lot of the faster people do that, and I don't know if it changes anything in regards to how you race, or I don't know the mindset behind that. It's not something that I normally do in any racing game for that matter. And I don't know, I tend to just look at the map and get a sense of for how close or how far the person behind me is. But we're still in third place. We're on the last lap. We still have a 0.5 penalty to pay off, and I'm not entirely sure if we're gonna be able to run that out naturally by the time we reach the finish line. And I managed to set an even faster lap time. I set 125.7 in the ninth lap. That's been my fastest lap so far in this track. That's really surprising, and I don't know, it's nice to see that I'm I'm actually improving around this track. But we're about to cross the finish line. We just have one more corner to the right, and then the race is gonna be over. And yeah, that's gonna be a third place finish unless the second place incurred a penalty that he did not pay off. Uh, and yeah, he did not have a penalty. I did, and I managed to run that out before the end of the race. So that's a third place finish, a fairly pleasing one, especially so when you consider how quick the cars, the guys in front of me were. And I'm very pleased with the result because it's Brand's hatch after all. But anyways, guys, that's been a really fun race. As I said before, I'm kind of taking a break from Gran Turismo Sport. I haven't played the game in a couple weeks. These videos that I'm bringing you were actually on my backlog, and I'm kind of taking a break because I don't know, I got bored of the game, and I want to go back to it. Maybe when a new update is out, I'm gonna feel like playing the game again. Let's see. I'm not gonna make any promises, but this is why I've been posting a lot of content uh, on other games like Forza Horizon, Sea of Thieves, and other ones. But anyways, guys, I hope you had fun watching the video. If you did like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more GT Sport content, share the video with your friends and on your social media. Helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate the help. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, the links in the description down below or at the beginning of the video. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.